This is Creepy and Geeky. Welcome to Creepy and Geeky. I'm your host, Robert, and on today's episode, in celebration of Black History Month, I'm covering the original Netflix film, The Cloned Tyrone with Onika. But first, it's time to talk to Donna about the stuff we got into this last week. How's it going, Donna?
Hey there, Robert. It is going well. Life is life, but I'm lifing it the best I can,
There
I
you
guess,
go. That's all we can do. We can life it the best we can.
the best we can. You are going to be so excited to hear that I actually went to a movie
I
this week.
know. I saw you post about
Did
it.
you see my post? Yeah,
I did. I was super excited when I saw that because I was like, Donna never goes to the
I
movies.
never do.
And it's something we both saw this week. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't resist. And my husband and I played hooky and we were so excited to do so. And we didn't really have any real plans. We just didn't want to be at work.
Right.
We wanted to have an early jump on the weekend and then we were like, "What are we doing? We're going to go to lunch?" And I was like, "No, let's go to a movie."
Yeah.
So it was great to go see an actual theater without having to wait because my kids didn't care, so I didn't have to wait on like
Oh,
five other people to go.
yeah.
So it was perfect timing, perfect movie.
That's awesome. Yeah, no. So yeah, let's get into it. We're not going to talk spoilers or anything, but yeah, we both got to see Hard Eyes, the new
Yes.
slasher from director Josh Rubin and writers Michael Kennedy and Christopher Landon, which is like such a good combination, and it made for such a great movie.
It
um
really did.
this is a new modern slasher that I'm very much hoping that turns into a franchise. So I'm excited to see what happens. But yeah, no, it was so much fun.
Lot of
Um,
fun. We were in the theater by ourselves, so it was like watching it at home, but not
that's
really.
awesome.
And yeah, no spoilers or nothing, but it
No.
was it was great from beginning to end. It has a
Oh
lot
man.
of rom-com tropes and just things that were cracking me up. I They really undersold the comedy portion of that
Which
in the
was
trailers,
great. I'm
which
so
was
glad.
really
But
great.
I knew with the filmmakers that were behind it, the people who were behind Happy Death Day and
Mhm.
Freaky and Werewolves Within, I knew we were going to be getting quite a bit of comedy. So I was
Oh,
just
it's great.
like it was so good. And I love that we got a little director cameo there too. In there, I don't know if you caught that or not, but yeah, the director does a quick cameo because
Oh, I did
Josh
catch that.
Rubin is Josh Rubin is also an actor. So yeah, so it's that part was funny to me. So
So that was the one movie that I got to actually go to the theater and see. 'Cause, normally I have to wait. My adult kids
yeah,
we always wanna go and make a day out of it and all of us go
yeah,
together, but, nobody cared about it, so I was like, "Yeah, hell yeah,
that's
I'm going to see this."
that's crazy to me because it looks like from the first trailer it looked brilliant, and so it's like, how can you not want to go see this movie if you like
Honestly,
horror
they're
stuff?
they're waiting for Captain America and the monkey. We all have to wait on that
Yes.
one, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna be
Oh,
dreading that.
I got my ticket for Captain America next week already, so I'm set.
We are
I'm
already
ready to
thinking
go.
about taking a hooky day to go see that
I'm
opening day.
telling
It's
you.
so sad.
I'm seeing it that Thursday, that opening
I need the
Thursday.
money. I need the work, but I'm like, I don't know that movie though. I want to go.
I'm telling you. Yeah, no,
Oh my
and the
gosh.
monkey, oh my God, the monkey looks awesome. I can't wait to see that one too. So,
So since we both saw that, I'll just start out with one of
yeah.
the trailers because I didn't really bring a whole lot, and I think you have more than I
Oh,
do.
I've got quite a bit.
Um, Definitely, probably gonna have this one on your list. I'm assuming the Final Destination teaser
Yes.
trailer
Yep.
dropped.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
I'm already super excited to see
Right?
this. Final
Well,
Destination movies are not everybody's cup of tea, but they are definitely
oh, they're
mine. Like,
definitely mine. Yeah.
I love that whole, like, mousetrap Rube Goldberg, what's gonna happen, how are they gonna kill him? Because even when you
Yes.
think you have it figured out, sometimes it doesn't go the way that you think it's going to.
No.
But
No, because they like to do that too. Is like they like to point out little things that
the
may or may not
misdirection.
happen. Yeah.
Right.
So I love that because it's just like, well, what's actually going to be the thing that kills them? Um,
Yes. So this teaser trailer pretty much lived up to that hype.
well, and what's fun about this trailer too is it's not a typical trailer where it's showing you a bunch of scenes from a bunch of
Mhm.
different parts of the movie. It's actually just one long scene.
Right.
So it's great.
So yeah, I'm super excited. I'm definitely on board. It comes out on my daughter's birthday, so I know that
Awesome.
that's probably going to be our birthday gift to ourselves
There
because
you go.
my kids, they love this franchise. Not so
Hell
much the
yeah.
Scream, but they love the Final Destination ones
They
for some
don't they
reason.
don't love Scream?
My
What?
my youngest does. Everybody else hates it.
Oh,
Everybody else hates
the
it.
hell is wrong with your kids?
I mean, they like what they like. I can't
I
I
know,
can't
I
judge
know,
that. They
I
love The
know, I know. My
Lighthouse.
kids are the
All of
same
them love
way.
The Lighthouse, so I don't really care for that one, but
What? Okay, yeah, that's the same with my son. My son loves the lighthouse,
I
and
think
I'm
it's
just
an
like,
age
what?
thing.
It, I guess so, which is weird. Like, why would you like this movie that's like, I don't know, purposely, I don't know, just I don't like the
It's
lighthouse.
hard to explain. I don't really care for it either. I don't
Yeah.
know what it is, but they love it.
Yeah, no. Robert Eggers is literally just one movie for me, just The Witch. Every other
Oh
movie of
my
his.
god.
Now, don't get
I
me wrong.
can't
I
get on
did like
board
The
with it.
Northman. I did like The Northman. But here he's two for four for me. He's like, I I like half of his stuff so far.
Yeah, I
So.
got you. So that was my first trailer. So what did you bring?
So I also we went and saw a double feature this week, which was Hard Eyes, and then we also saw the new action movie Love Hurts. So
Oh,
it's
how
like a
was that?
Valentine's Day double feature in a way.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. It's very short. It's there's a little tonal inconsistency sometimes, but when the action's hitting, it's hitting hard. So I loved it for that. The love story between Hui Kwan and Ariana DeBose is a little bit weird. Um, it just I don't know, maybe it's the age difference for me, but like normally that's not a huge problem,
Mhm.
but I don't know, for this movie it just they both didn't seem like they were that much in love with each other, so it was like that part didn't come off quite as well, but the
Which
rest
one
of
did
it.
you see first? Did you see,
I saw
Hard
Hard
Eyes
Eyes
first?
first, yeah.
They had really Olivia
Oh,
Holt and Mason Gooding had
such
believable
good.
chemistry. It
Oh,
was
yeah,
yeah. So that probably made it really
maybe.
obvious that this
Yeah.
couple didn't. You know what I mean?
Probably, but I think it was just one of those things where I think they were really focused on the action set pieces as
Mhm.
well. And this one was also really funny. So you had a lot of and it was funny. Sometimes the jokes didn't land, but like I still appreciated that the joke was there. So it feels very much like a throwback kind of action flick.
Mhm.
And this was directed by a former stuntman, produced by David Leitch, who's done plenty of movies on his own, plenty of action movies on his own, but is
Right.
also a former stuntman.
Stunt person, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, and then Quan himself is a former,
Mhm.
obviously he's been acting for a while, but he was also a former stunt coordinator and stuff
Mhm.
like that as well. So it was basically just kind of a, hey, let's do a crazy action set piece movie, which I'm all for. Like I'm great. I love that kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
yeah, so it was fun. So don't get me wrong, it was fun. After having watched Hard Eyes, and Hard Eyes was just a blast. It didn't quite live up to it, but it was okay. So, but
Okay.
it made for a fun double feature.
Yeah, I definitely wanna check that
So
out. I mean,
yeah.
I'm a huge fan of everybody that worked on that project
Yes.
anyway,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. No, it's a lot of fun. So, all right. What's your next thing?
so the next thing is probably also another one that you have, which is the Fantastic Four
Yes.
teaser trailer
Yes.
came out, and oh
Oh
my gosh,
my God.
first of all, I wanna just throttle people who don't understand what Ben Grimm looks like. There's so many people that are like, "Oh, they got it right," which I thought when I saw it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, they actually have the thing right
Yeah.
this time." And then you have some people that are like, "No, he's too small. He's not the
What?
Hulk.
No.
He's
Yeah.
he's a guy that just turned into a rock. He didn't, get like 18 feet tall or anything."
Yeah. That's
I think they
weird.
captured
I
it
didn't hear
right.
anybody complain about that. The only thing I
Oh
heard
my
people
gosh.
complain about was the same minor complaint that I had is that his voice is just regular. They didn't kind of like gravel it up
Ravel
or
it up.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Is just like I expect and like people pointed out, and it was something I didn't catch originally. He doesn't really have that thing New York
The
cadence.
accent. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's kind of the only thing that bugs me, but like it's such a minor thing because otherwise they got the visual right. They if
Right.
this is the first time in a long time that I've been excited about a Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Like
Same.
maybe the very first one was okay-ish, but even then, like they didn't have the thing quite right.
Mm-mm. Nope.
And so this they got the thing like despite the voice they've got the attitude
Hmm.
and the look right.
The look
um
is just perfect to
and
me. And then we
and
get to see
everybody else,
Herbie and we get to see
yeah,
that it's set in what, the
the
60s. So,
60s, yeah.
and
And
clearly from what Reed is doing on that chalkboard, he's going to open up the multiverse and that's how they're
well,
going to end up.
my son has a theory that it's not necessarily exactly the multiverse, but I mean it might be like that's what he's going for
Mhm.
based on what people discern from it and everything
Mhm.
like that. But he thinks that the negative zone might play a role in this. So which would, who knows, might be the conduit for them, um, because yeah, we'll see what happens. But the most exciting thing was Galactus in live
Mhm.
action.
Oh
Oh my
yes.
god, like full on crazy helmeted, like awesome Galactus. I'm excited that played by Ralph Ineson. So that's gonna be like the greatest, like
His
that's a
voice.
deep gravelly voice.
His
So that's
voice
gonna
is
be
such a cheat code. I mean, he's a really great actor, but I could hear this man read the phone book. I really don't care
good.
what it is, but yeah, it looks very very good. It's
Oh,
got me excited.
so excited. Yeah.
It's I was so glad to see it. Like my son waited. He was like, "You got to see this. I can't watch this trailer without you." And I was like, "Good. I'm glad you didn't." So, I think I've watched it about 4 or 5 times now since I've seen it the first time, and it just keeps getting better and better for me. Everything about it is just great.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. This year between Captain America, Thunderbolts, and Fantastic Four, I am super excited for
Yep.
what's coming out in Marvel. Like I'm always excited for what's coming out from the MCU, but like I am super excited for
Right.
these three movies. Like all three of these movies just hit like every button for me,
Yeah.
so I'm excited. So, all right. Well, also this week, the Megan 2.0 teaser dropped. It's not much of anything of a teaser, but it's still a little fun. You got her dancing,
Of course.
silhouetted, of course, just like the first one, but dancing to the Chapel Roan song "Phenomenon," which was great because I'm a big Chapel Roan fan.
Right.
So I was like, "Oh my god, this is so good!"
I saw that trailer and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, he's gonna be all over this."
Oh my god, it was so funny. Oh my god, I was excited. But yeah, no, I'm very excited for this movie. It looks just from this teaser looks excellent. Just looks like they're going for the same vibe as the first one and I was all in for that one. So
Exactly, and it's so funny too because I just saw someone on, Instagram bought a life-size Megan, doll, really, and
yeah.
it's you can get it from NECA,
Yeah,
and
I
it's like
seen that.
$500, and I was like,
It's
"Oh,
insane.
hell no.
Yeah.
I don't want that thing in my house."
No, hell no. No, not in any way, shape, or form. Especially life size. Like maybe a little version like would be cool, but like no, because I saw a little version at Walmart the other day. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But no in hell would I have a fucking life size version of that. That's disturbing as hell.
I mean, let me take it back. I would get one just to fuck with my husband, but I wouldn't drop 500 bones on it, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Um, eggs are too high,
maybe a
I can't
card.
afford
Yeah.
it.
See, I don't need it. I don't need that many eggs. I don't got to worry about that.
I mean, I don't either.
Yeah.
I like
I mean,
pulling
eggs
that up
are in
my
a lot of
ass.
products we buy though. So,
No
it's going to
shit.
make things a little bit more
But that's
difficult.
what I did with
So,
my Chucky doll. I didn't buy the Chucky doll. I won it in a contest, and so every now and then I would just move the doll around just to kind of freak him out. So if I had the Megan, I would definitely do that.
yeah, that'd be hilarious. Oh my God, that's too funny. All right. Well, the last thing I have is that there was a new trailer for Jurassic World Rebirth, which I knew they were making another
Hmm.
Jurassic World universe movie or whatever like that, but I did not realize it was already coming out, that it was already made, and that there was a trailer for it. So this one looks interesting. They're going back to the island, of course. Researchers want some
Hmm.
stuff about it, and Scarlett Johansson's in this,
Really?
which was
I
a
have not seen
surprise.
this trailer. I've got to go and
Yes,
watch this now.
yeah, yeah. Go check it out. She plays badass in it, of course. But Yeah, it looks interesting. I'll be interested to see where it goes from here. I like the Jurassic World Park slash
Hmm.
whatever movies. Um, they're giant monster fun. Like that's I know there's a lot of people who get kind of weird about them or whatever, but I'm like, dude, it's dinosaurs wrecking people. How is that a bad thing? Like it's just fun. So, um, but
And
yeah,
typically,
no.
usually the people that they do like, tear apart are the ones that are assholes anyway. So
Yeah, yeah, and they're the
you
ones who
shouldn't
deserve
care.
it, you know.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so
I'll definitely check that out.
yeah, definitely check it out. It looks interesting. I'm hoping it'll be good. Hoping it'll at least be a little bit of fun is all I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
So, but that's all I have is a busy week trailer wise and movie wise. I've been continuing on my black exploitation journey. Uh, um, I watched quite a few already. I'm it just started, but I didn't finish it yet. I gotta jump back into it, but I started across 110th Street the other night, so
Yeah,
I
that's a
gotta
good one.
jump into that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I haven't quite reached Pam Grier's movies yet. Those are the only ones I've seen, most of them anyway. But I'm excited to see those, and I did rewatch Jackie Brown the last couple of nights while I was going to bed, which is obviously inspired by the black exploitation era.
Hmm.
So in that movie, I love Jackie Brown. It's such a
I
good
do
movie.
too.
It's like next to Django Unchained, they're both my favorite of Tarantino's works. So they're kind of both even in my eyes. So, but yeah, no, that's all I've been up to mostly. So but this week, yeah, definitely I'll be going to go see Captain America: Brave New World. So, well, you'll be hearing me talk about that next week on the show. Um, but and maybe Donna will get to go see it too, so we could both talk about it a little
Yeah, I'm
bit.
pretty sure I'm gonna go see that one. I'm not missing this.
You got to. Oh man. All right. If you don't have anything else before we move on to the rest of the show, why don't you let people know what you got going on your show this week?
So it's kind of funny because I went and saw Heart Eyes. I'm actually doing an episode about Heart Eyes
Oh,
because
okay.
it's
Yeah.
gonna fall on the week of Valentine's anyway,
There
and I
you go.
figure, well, Mason Gooden is in it, so I can count it as Black History. Um, but as usual, it's gonna be spoiler free. I'm not gonna ruin anything about this film for anybody. I didn't even want to mention the detectives' names. That's how
Yes.
much
Oh my
I
God, that was such a great joke.
wasn't it? Oh my god.
I love that.
So yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I'm
we're
gonna be
not going to
talking
talk about it,
about.
but you guys got to see this movie. It's
Yes,
hilarious.
absolutely, and I did my best spoiler free for this one. It's kinda
Awesome.
short, but you guys should still like it.
Yeah, definitely go check out her podcast. It's Donna the Dead, THA, Donna the Dead. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on like you do every week.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah. And so we'll see you again next week. And until then, stay creepy. On today's episode, we're continuing our Black History Month celebration with a look at the Netflix movie They Cloned Tyrone. Joining me for this is returning guest Onika. Welcome back to the show, Onika.
Thanks for having me, Robert.
Yeah, it's always good to have you on. We always have fun talks. That's which is what it's all about on my show is just having fun talks.
It's going to be a fun talk, but we are going to get a little serious.
Of course, we got to get a little serious. This movie, that what makes this movie a lot of fun is there's a lot of serious like undertones to it, while also being one of the most funny like movies that I've seen in a while. Like, and not just like, not like a laugh out loud, like haha, like over the top jokes funny. It's a, I don't know how to explain. You people, if you haven't seen They Clone Tyrone, you really need to watch it. It's really good. It's like it combines horror and sci-fi and comedy and satire and social commentary all into one. And you would think that wouldn't mix well, but it really does well. So and you've got John
Yeah, Jewel
Boyega,
Taylor,
Teyonah Parris, and uh, um,
Jamie
Jamie
Foxx.
Foxx as the three leads, and they are great together. And like you said, Jewel Taylor is the director, and the I believe the co-writer of the movie. So
And he definitely has a gift. I will say that he's got a gift. You know what? Given the fact that he was born in Tuskegee, Alabama, I'm actually not
mm,
surprised that he came up with this idea. Given that, you know what, when you live in the home of the Tuskegee Airmen, you do, and you're black, you do grow up with those stories. You grow up with that importance. So he definitely had a different kind of education than a lot of other people in
right,
the country, even other black people, um, to like work off of. So I do think he brought that to the table along with like, you know, just his personal experience and our communal experience as well.
right, yeah, definitely. All right. Well, yeah, let's get into a little bit more of the movie. It's definitely like right now I'm in the midst of a black exploitation watch. I've mentioned on the show
Mm,
previously, so I've been watching a lot of the 70s, like that era of black exploitation. Like I mean, when it was actually coined and when those all those movies were coming out. And so I've been watching those since the beginning of the month, and this is definitely an homage to that in a lot of ways because it's definitely in whereas those movies were always about the black experience in the neighborhoods where they were, and they actually filmed a lot in those neighborhoods and stuff like that. They very much did a lot of the same here as well. They filmed most of this in Atlanta. um,
mhm.
and this is definitely very much about black experiences. That even from a from my perspective, the white man's perspective and stuff like that, this is stuff I've seen portrayed through not just film and television but also through the news and everything else. So it was an interesting movie for that, especially. So, but coming from your perspective, how give me your overall thoughts on this movie in general.
Okay, so there is a certain kind of like talking to I have to give myself when I start movies like this. I have to remind myself that this is a black led movie. It is not a white led one. Therefore, while I'm seeing a lot of stereotypes that make me angry when I see them in film, I have to understand that there is a point to this. We're making a statement. We're not generalizing our community like that. We're not
Right.
saying we're all pimps and hoes and drug dealers. Listen, I got no problem with hoes, but
Right.
sex work is real work. But it's like it's not all that. So like, you know, I have to give myself that talking to sometimes to remind myself, hey, this we're not coming at this out of a place of like self-hatred, or we're not coming at this out of a place of like like racial stereotypes that we're actually like falling into them. We're doing this to satirize the experience of this is how people see us,
Right.
but this is not who we are.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like every bit of this movie that like screams at the stereotypes of black culture is meant as satire. And you get that, and it's a plot point in the movie as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's a moment midway through the movie where you discover exactly what's going on, and you're like, Oh, okay. So there's a reason for all this being this stereotypical. So,
Mhm.
but yeah.
Yeah, it's very much like Black Dynamite in that way, which is a more
Right.
modern black
Right.
exploitation movie. Which brings me to the fact that like if you watch the movie, you will know right away what kind of the secret is. As soon as you see that sticker for Anaconda malt liquor, as soon as you see that, it's just like I got an idea of what's going on here.
Right.
And it's funny because Jewel Taylor did get permission from Michael Jai White to use that.
That's funny. I haven't seen Black Dynamite yet. It's on my list for this month to
Uh,
watch. So I'm definitely watching that. But yeah, I didn't catch that reference. That's funny though. So that's it.
well, if
That
you haven't
makes it
seen
even
Black
better.
Dynamite, you definitely would get it.
Yeah,
I understand, but yeah, once you watch Black Dynamite, you will you will get it. It's a Black Dynamite's a fun movie. The TV show that they made an animated TV show for
Yes,
it, and it actually was pretty funny.
that's funny.
I thought, um, but I have realized that there is a certain line that we can take black satire before we start appealing to the white gaze a little too hard,
You're right.
and we end up like the later seasons of the Boondocks.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't watched that either.
That's okay. Um, I am sure my fellow peoples out there know exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm sure.
um, but like there's a certain point like in black satire where you have to like we definitely can't we have to make it still about us and not so much like try to appeal to a wider audience.
Right.
I get the desire to. You want to make money, you want to grow your reach, but like sometimes you're putting yourself at the cost of your community.
So do you feel like this movie did it well? Like it didn't go that far?
I feel like it didn't go too far. I feel
Okay,
like it was
that's good.
not pandering to the white gaze the way
Right.
that some things can.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, that being said, like I think that there's a part in it that people might feel that way, but I feel like it's going to be something that you have to look at the deeper commentary into. Um, because like a lot of Fontaine's older Fontaine's story, which
Hmm.
is portrayed quite brilliantly in a matter of minutes, to be honest,
Right.
is a kind of internalized anti-blackness.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to be real with you, Robert. These are typically a conversation that I don't have in mixed company, but I do think that for the movie and to get my point across, and because it's Black History Month, and I don't know how to keep my big fat mouth shut, I am going to discuss some of my feelings about just generally all of it. Um,
Go for it.
just so there is a lot of things that I want to talk about, but even though this is the literally the last part of the movie, it's something that I want to bring up like right off the bat because older Fontaine's internalized anti-blackness and how harmful it is to his own community, and from the way it looks, harmful to himself is really spoke to me, especially like you have this man who faced this absolutely unbelievable tragedy where he is like breaking down telling Fontaine, younger Fontaine, clone Fontaine, uh the story about his brother, about how he got shot by a police officer and how they just left him in the street. And that's emulating actual things that have happened in real life, things that we have seen on the news, things that we have seen in our communities, things that we've seen happen, and how like they didn't have the care or courtesy to even clean the blood off of him in the morgue,
Mm.
and how much that must like kill something inside of you, and you have to rack your brain and think of a way that you never, one, never experienced that hurt again, and two, make sure nobody else does. And sometimes people can come at it from a place of self-hatred. If all y'all weren't like this, they wouldn't do this to us.
Right.
And it's just like where he thinks assimilation is better than annihilation, where it is better to be white and give into respectability politics and behave the way the white man wants us to, shuck and jive, if you will, than to die. And I understand that. I've seen that. I've seen people give into the respectability politics. In my own life, I've seen people say, if y'all, forgive me, Robert, I'm about to say something that you might think. If all y'all niggas didn't want to go and be treated this way, y'all wouldn't be acting this way.
Yeah.
Now, that's and one thing that you learn in your life, especially like I grew up raised by a white family. I grew up in with a largely white household. I went to white schools. I did all the I speak proper. I do it this way. I behave the way people wanted me to, and that's something I had to learn like not to do anymore. Like to be authentic to myself instead of being the way that somebody wanted me to be. I understand that you think that you will be treated better because you're not like them, quotation marks them.
Right.
Um, and it will save you. It won't. It doesn't.
No.
It never will.
I mean, we're seeing that in our current political climate as well. It's like
Mm-hmm.
everybody who like basically anybody who was not white who went along and it continues to go along with the you know I don't want to get too political, but with things that are going on right now, they're starting to see that that's coming back to bite them in the ass. And that's because those people use them for their
Their own gain.
inroads, for their own gain, not for you to gain from it. And that's unfortunate. Like, that they thought that that was a way for them to come up. But it's I would rather people be their authentic selves, even if that means that you're going to. I mean, from my perspective as a white person, I would rather people be true to themselves and that we can all embrace our differences with each other, rather than um, continue to um, fight against each other over these differences, which in the end don't really mean that much. It's these differences are small differences, whereas under the surface of it all, we all just kind of want the same things. We all just want to live. We all want to be happy. We all just want to get through our lives. And you know skin color and accents and languages and everything like that, those don't mean anything. We should be embracing those differences in each other and helping to celebrate each other's cultures, and but find um those similarities that we do have underneath that all, and being able to just be okay with people living their lives and doing their thing, and who cares about any of that other junk. So, but yeah, no, to your point, yeah, it's that's that moment in that movie where you're just like, this guy got hurt so bad that he was willing to sacrifice not only himself and everything that was about him for assimilation, but now he's forcing like his whole culture and his people to do the same for the sake of
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote peace, rather than just being
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, everybody just needs to fucking get along and shut up and stop bitching about all these differences and just embrace it. So yeah, that's a heartbreaking scene for sure. Like, even
Mm-hmm.
just from my perspective, it's just like, I don't want that. I don't like I don't want people to have to do that. I don't want assimilation. I want that. I want everybody to have their own cultures and things and everything like that, and us to all enjoy that aspect of it, so it just, we don't all need to be the same. Us all being a gray homogenous blob of humanity is just, it's disgusting. I don't want that. So
Exactly. Um,
uh,
and this actually brings me into my next point because like Kiefer Sutherland's character is an excellent, excellent example of somebody who has entrenched themselves in a community and is manipulating it from the outside and no one
right,
can see it. Because another thing, I don't know if this is what Jewel Taylor intended, but it is how I took it. It is, there is a lot of internal problems intra-racially, not
right,
intra-racially within any community, any community. We particularly like to focus on intraracial issues within the Black community because it's likes to be used as a scapegoat. I'm not going to go into a lot of details about like the internal problems of the community, but there's still fights that we have to fight within
right,
ourselves. Like we have to unlearn toxic behaviors. We have to unlearn a lot of self-hatred. We have to unlearn a lot of bigotry that has been taught to us regarding like, um, queer people and sexism and things like that. There is struggles that in the community we do have to work on. And it's there are people out there doing the work. They are doing the work and they are doing it a lot. But it is very hard to do the work when you have the outside force of white supremacy constantly stepping on your neck, intending for you to stay exactly where you are. And that's what Kiefer Sutherland's character represents to me. It's just like when he tells them to go back and keep doing what they do, it's better for everyone if he just stays in there. If Yo-Yo and Slick and Fontaine all just stay in their place. Be a drug dealer, be a hoe, be a pimp. That's what we need from you. That is all you can ever be. And it's just like, yeah, it's hard to get out of a bad situation when the opportunities for you don't exist or like societally have not been provided to you. You get lesser than schools. You get you've been redlined into poorer neighborhoods. You've been um, given such limited opportunities to grow, and it's just like, so stay in your place below us,
right.
and we'll do the work, and we'll make you better
Yeah,
by making you like us.
yeah,
Because the only way that you're ever going to be considered acceptable is if you're white. And it's just like that was a big thing for me, like in the movie. It's just like having that arching narrative of, yes, we have our internal problems, yes, we have issues, yes, we have all these sorts of things, but we do have an all-encompassing bigger issue that is keeping us in this place, and we need to combat that as well.
yeah. No, agreed.
um, but in a lighter note, like in terms of characterization, I really loved John. I love John Boyega, period. But I really loved his Fontaine. He's a
Yeah.
phenomenal actor. But you know who was the standout for me? Yo-Yo is my favorite character. I
Oh,
love her
Teyona
so much.
Paris is so great in this movie. It's so funny.
She, she
She's
is
so good.
fantastic. She
Yeah.
provides a lot of the comedy.
Yeah,
It,
for
it
sure. Her
it's
and
funny
Jamie
because
Foxx, really, like they're
mhm,
definitely. I mean, because I mean, obviously John Boyega is playing the straight man. He's the serious one
mhm,
who's like, who kind of sets off the whole story and everything. But yeah, definitely between her and especially the interactions between her and Jamie Foxx's Slick Charles, they're just brilliant together. That
yes,
combination is just so good.
yes, it worked out beautifully. Um, And yeah, John Boyega makes a very good straight man. Um, but also like one of the things just I appreciate about Yo-Yo, and I do think that this was another bit of commentary, um, was how much she's the one keeping them on track and keeping them online
Yeah.
and being rational because she's smart. She's so smart. And that like it's like they tried to it's like it's they tried to diminish it under the fact that she's a sex worker, but that doesn't diminish from how smart she is, just that she wasn't given the opportunities to get out of like the town, so she does what she can for money. Now that is one thing I don't really like, the characterization that sex workers are like stuck, so to speak. Some people
Right.
choose to live that lifestyle, and that's nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. A job's a job. Um, but when they're talking about how they've cloned Fontaine and they've cloned Slick, and I think they even had a clone of Isaac, um, and they're like, "We have these. There's a million of you,"
Right.
and I think it's just very indicative of how very underappreciated, underrepresented Black women are, and how much they are taken for granted. Because
Yeah.
if Yo-Yo was not part of any of this, they never would have gotten to any of the places that they would have.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Because
I Yeah, and I mean because she was the one discovering a lot of it. She was like using that like that, she was inspired by, the books of Nancy Drew. That was a great
mhm,
plot point there too. It makes for a couple of good jokes, but it also makes for a reasoning behind the fact that she's got this inquisitive mind and that she wants more out of her life and everything like that. And I think that the movie did a fairly good job. I think they were very specifically talking about just her wanting to get out, whereas the other women were perfectly fine doing what they were doing. Um, I think it straddled that line just well enough. I mean, we only got her perspective. We didn't get any other women's perspective, so we don't know for sure. But at least for her, doing what she was doing was a means to an end that wasn't her end goal. And I think that's where they were being very clear about it. Not and because it never felt to me like the movie itself, the writing was ever like denigrating her for doing it, and it never felt like she looked down on it either as a thing that, hey, I got to get out of here because this has been beneath me. She was just like, this isn't what I want to do. I want to go do something else. It's like anybody with a job, like, you're doing a job that you don't really care to do until you can get to the next thing that you really want to do. So that's how I took it. And maybe my perspective is off, but that's how I read it.
well, that's true because, despite being a very bit part, there's Biddy, and Biddy
Yes.
seems perfectly happy where she is.
Yeah, I mean,
But
even
at
so
the
much
same
as
time,
being like the person, like one of the people who's like, passing on information down at the end, going through the act of doing her job to pass on information. And I think that was an interesting bit about that. She never once, like at least in that aspect, it didn't feel like she was just like, oh, well, I don't want to do that, blah blah blah, And so, she was just like, what needs to happen? So, um, I thought, to that point.
yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I understand it. Um, maybe it's just me being a little sensitive about it because
Right.
there's so much media and so many things that just denigrate sex workers all the time, and it's just like it's come to be like a problem, like
Yeah.
in societally and just everywhere. And I have friends who are sex workers and they're great. I have one who transitioned from like a pretty, what would be considered a very good, respectable career into doing sex work, and she is happier
Oh yeah, no,
doing
I've
sex
seen
work.
there's that former actress from like a Boy Meets World actress who went from acting to then doing cosplay then doing like sexy cosplay and then into like full blown porn, and now she seems like the happiest she's ever been, like from what she's doing now to what she was doing before. So I was just like, that's the thing. It's like, to each their own. Everybody should be able to do what they want regardless of what people think or whatever. If it's making you happy and it's legal, then who cares? So
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I think that with the in terms of the that sex work, I think it's actually the movie doesn't really do a terrible job at like not passing judgment on anybody. In that, like, at least within their own community, like nobody's really, I mean, they're like jokingly, like they kind of joke back and forth a little bit sometimes about it, but I don't think anybody really um has less respect for Yo-Yo because she is a prostitute and because she is a sex worker. And so I think that that at least because it feels like for that community, everybody has their place, and I mean, there's reason for that, but, at least in terms of the way everybody is with each other, they seem to be accepting of it and understanding of where everybody's at and what they're doing and what that means. So I thought that was actually fairly progressive in that way.
Thinking on it, I have to agree with you. Like, there is no actual malice, and the fact that two sex workers are two very large,
Yeah.
like driving forces for the plot. Because without Yo-Yo, they wouldn't get anywhere, and without Biddy doing passing information back and forth, they wouldn't have
Yeah.
been able to secretly be able to enact their plan.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that's what I love that. It was just, that was it was great representation in that way, and again, problematic, sure, but I mean, I think they did a good job at representing that all of these people are just real people. They all have their desires and their wants, and I think that's what makes Yo-Yo interesting too, is that while she's doing it and she doesn't look down on it, nobody looks down on her for doing it. She does have aspirations that are beyond that. And again, and that's what the funny thing is too, is she's trying to get out of there. And then they see her the next day and she's still tricking. And she's like, yeah, I need a little bit more money to get to Memphis. So, she's doing what she needs to do to get where she wants to go. So I think that was great. So, and there it was
Yeah.
more about not that she was doing it, but more about, hey, I thought you said you were leaving. So, yeah. So I thought that part was funny.
Yes. And um I mean, I also have like issues with like just the idea of pimps.
Yeah.
Just because in real life, not the fictional pimp, so to speak, of media, they are usually very abusive people
Right.
who
I
take
mean, they're basically sex
who take
traffickers.
earnings.
So, yeah.
Mhm. Who take earnings from sex workers who actually do all the work. So I take issue with that. But usually in movies they're played as they're usually force for comedy because
Yeah.
like it's just like because of the way that they were portrayed in like the 70s and 80s with the very uh fantastic clothes,
Right.
the
The great
hair.
cars. Yeah.
And also, I think like it's a like kind of like a Cat Williams situation where he kind of set the standard for like how we see it all now because
Right.
of like his character that he did for years.
Right. No, exactly.
Um, but sometimes Jamie Foxx cannot catch me in a movie. Usually when he does like action or sci-fi, he gets me every time. He's very good in it.
Yeah.
Um, I appreciated his performance wholeheartedly. It was like I think that was like the last thing he did before he got sick. He's recovered now,
Right.
but like before he had to take his hiatus because he was so sick. Um,
Well, apparently that happened on his newest Netflix movie on that what is it? Back in Action.
mhm.
He had his stroke on while filming that movie. And so they
Oh,
actually had to stop filming, wait for him to get better, and he had to do everything. Apparently, it was like I didn't realize how bad it was, but apparently he had like a 5% chance of recovery. And the fact that
Yeah.
he's fully recovered and he had to relearn how to walk and talk and everything else. And so it's just like amazing how much he had to do that. But yeah,
Yeah, the fact that he recovered, like, period, in
yeah,
any way is truly amazing. Because my grandfather, like, he had a stroke when I was 8, and like he was able to recover to a certain point. Like, he was still could, like, walk and talk, but part one half of his body was weaker than the other.
right.
uh
Yeah,
he and he was subjected to, like, he through the years he had many strokes.
yeah,
So like, it's a scary thing to go
yeah,
through. It's a horrible thing to go through, and I'm glad that, like, he's recovering well.
yeah, definitely.
Um,
But yeah, I agree with you. I think he's one of the best things in this movie. His performance is so good. He's playing, he's obviously playing up that like a comedic version of that pimp, and um
mhm.
and just I just it just his perform all their performances, they mesh so well together. That moment where they're all on the elevator that second time, and Jamie Foxx starts
They're
singing, and
singing.
Teon Paris like joins in, and John Boyega just looks at it. It cuts like at a moment where I think they must have had to start laughing or something, because it just cuts weirdly at that point, and I was just like, I bet you they started cracking up because that was an ad lib that they just went on with, and there was a moment where they couldn't keep going. So,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
heard that there was a lot of ad-libbing.
oh, I bet there had to be, especially with Jamie Foxx in the cast. Yeah. I wouldn't doubt it at all. But yeah, no, I
Yeah.
agree with you. Yeah, there's a lot of, especially his Netflix movies. Now, I'll agree his Netflix movies are, depending on each one of them. I haven't seen the new one, the Back in Action. But this is like, he's done four of them so far. He did Project Power, They Cloned Tyrone, Day Shift, and Back in Action. They've all been fairly good. I really enjoyed Day Shift. And of course, obviously, They Cloned Tyrone is a huge fave. As soon as I saw this, as soon as I saw the trailer for this, I was sold. Because it was just like it just was perfectly like my kind of vibe, 100%. And so, because I love that kind of paranoid, um, conspiracy, but also like comedy, sci-fi, just anything like just it had that right mix, and I'm so glad that the movie manages to pull it off, because there's sometimes where you watch a trailer and you're like, oh, this looks so good, and then you get to the movie and the movie's like, ah, but that's only like 1% of the movie. The rest of the movie's kind of so yeah, I was excited that this movie did as well, like worked as well for me as it did.
Yeah. It's right in the vein of, like, Sorry to Bother You.
I still need to see that one.
You'll like it, I
Yeah.
guarantee you. Um, but if and anybody out there, if you haven't seen Sorry to Bother You, get on it.
Yeah.
But like, I just it there was one thing that I acknowledge that the movie did not have time for it, but would have appreciated it, is if there had been more development between Fontaine and Junebug.
Yeah.
Like, because, like, opening part aside, like, their relationship is very, very sweet. Like, the opening part, like, it's just like he's using him to, like, be one of the block boys, run around and find people for him, and he gives them a little cash.
Right.
um and it's just like putting him in a bad situation, putting him in dangerous situations, and, like, not really thinking twice about it. Because when we start the movie, we have to acknowledge Fontaine is a bad person.
Yeah.
Fontaine Fontaine is a drug dealer. He's violent. He is uncaring. He is very money minded, and that is all he cares about. He breaks someone's leg in what, the first 5 minutes of the movie
Right. Yeah.
by hitting them with a car,
Yeah.
and then gets out and says, "You hit my car." Um,
Yeah.
and it's just like, and he did that with a child in the front seat, a child who, up until that point, was talking to him about SpongeBob.
Right. Yeah.
But like
Uh,
that scene, like the whole scene where Junebug shows up, like the whole sequence before it and during, where he finds out that his mom's not real, like she's just a
mm,
speaker, and
yes.
he is like saying, "Mom, I need you, like I need you," and to just know like he's alone.
Yeah.
He, everything that he thought he had in his life, he doesn't have. Like he has these memories of a brother that he never truly did know. He just has the memories of him existing and of what happened to him, and he's gone. And then it's just like, I have my mother, like, yeah, I don't see her that much, but I still have her. And then the realization of, I don't have my mother, I don't have anybody, I am alone in this world. There is
Right.
nobody. And then he's out there crying, and Junebug shows up and starts talking to him about SpongeBob.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just a really cute moment where it's just like, it does remind him, I do have someone, I have this community, I do have people I care about, I have people that I need to protect.
Right.
And that's when he like, I think that moment is truly when he becomes like the hero. um
Right.
Flawed as he is,
Right. Yeah.
he sees the situation, he acknowledges, like, I want to protect the Glen, for Junebug, for
Right.
Yo-Yo, for everybody I know, even for Isaac. I want them to be safe. I don't want them to be manipulated. I don't want them experimented on. I I I I really loved that moment. Like, I think it probably was my favorite scene in the movie that wasn't like a action sequence.
Right. No, I
Because
agree. I
like
think
it was
that's, yeah, go ahead.
so
I'm sorry.
in, just because it was so indicative of how much Fontaine has changed from the beginning of the movie to this point now.
Right. Yeah, I think that no, I agree with you, and I think that's where that informs that later decision when, spoilers obviously for anybody who hasn't seen or hasn't seen the movie. Make sure you go see the movie before you listen to this episode. But when he is when Fontaine is telling older Fontaine is telling him everything, and he decides to have him shot, uses the other clone to shoot him, that you can sit there and go, well, what's that? What does that really do? And it's like, well, right now it saves the Glen. It stops this guy from doing this to anybody else because it takes out their lead geneticist and the guy who's basically started this whole mess to begin with. And it's it sets it up for what comes later on as well, like the end of the movie. Because obviously that they go off to go find these other communities that have been done like this as well and free them from this, um, and just let them live their lives. And I think that's what's great about it is because you get the moment where he becomes the hero of the community. It not through you know any selfish reasoning, but because that's what he wants to do. He realizes that that's who's there for him and that's what he wants to protect. And yeah, no, it's a great little scene that matters so much. And yeah, it would have been good to see a little bit more kind of build up of that relationship between him and Junebug to kind of like land that like a little bit more. But I think even for what it is, I think it works really extremely well.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I like I said, I really appreciated that scene, like, because like they could have had one of those moments where it's just like you see in like other movies where it's just like a very stoic moment where they're like looking in the mirror and like self-examining. Um, or like, immediately after, like finding out that his mom's not real, moving on from there. But like, having Junebug show up and letting him have that realization that like this is what I'm looking for, this is what I'm trying to protect. I see my brother in this boy, and I don't want more than I don't want another one of my brother. I don't want to see him lose all of this, and I don't want to lose all of this.
Right. Exactly.
And I think it's a very beautiful moment.
Yeah.
Um, I I was also like, I appreciated how they like the drug that they were giving to people. Like I appreciated like one of the things that they put it in was like hair relaxer for
Right.
perms.
Yeah.
Because like there has been actual documented proof of relaxers containing chemicals that are harmful.
Oh yeah. No,
And
if anybody wants to learn about that, watch that. There's a documentary called Good Hair, that
mhm,
really explains about that kind of um the stuff about that they've done with black hair over the years, and about how toxic and dangerous it's been like for a long time. I was amazed when I saw that. I was like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. So
yeah. Um, and like, I seeing that like what and this is not me slandering anybody out there who chooses to relax their hair, perm their
yeah,
hair. As long as you're performing it safely, you're using a good brand that doesn't have any of the chemicals that can harm you. It's your hair and you
right,
do what you want with it. But a relaxer for me is a huge representation of internalized anti-blackness.
right,
Like I said, I grew up with a white family. Um, and I had afro hair. I still have afro hair. But I hated it. Like
right,
nobody knew how to do my hair.
yeah,
Everybody acted like it was such a burden to do that I relaxed my hair. And I relaxed my hair until I turned 24 years old. And my hair
mm,
was brittle, broken, damaged. I shaved my head at 24 and I have
yeah,
not used a relaxer since. And I know that like it's not other people don't have the same relationship with relaxers that I do, but like I said, a relaxer to me is like such a symbol of like my internalized anti-blackness, where I hated an aspect of myself that I shouldn't have hated because
right,
it's my hair and my hair is beautiful the way it is. I don't have to make it straight. I don't have to emulate like white people's hairstyles to be beautiful in my own body.
right,
Um, and like this is something that I have had to pass on to my godchild because her family um behaved that way about her hair, and her hair was much more coiled than mine, and they constantly acted like, oh well, this is so difficult, I want to do this, and we're going to put a relaxer in, and I'm like, oh my god, let's not do that. Here, let me give you some tips, let me teach you how to do it. It really doesn't have to be as hard as you're making it out to be.
right.
And now they haven't used a relaxer on her hair in like 8 years. Her
Good,
hair is still
good.
healthy, beautiful. She's perfect.
Yeah.
I might be biased, but I think she's perfect. uh,
No, that's definitely good.
but like I have seen it used as a tool to make more specifically Black women
Right,
feel bad about themselves. And I know that there are people 100%, because like I said, I'm really not trying to denigrate anybody who still does use it
right,
because I know that there are fully well-informed adults who love themselves wholeheartedly who use relaxers, and that is
right.
perfectly fine.
Yeah,
But
no,
like
absolutely.
every experience I had with it was bad. They smell bad, your head
Right.
itches. I had sores and burns on my scalp that I have scars of that I'll
Yeah.
never get rid of. And it's just like,
No,
so it's just like
some of that
I was
stuff.
active.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just like I was actively hurting myself
Yeah.
to be more acceptable to a group of people who never truly were going to accept me anyway. And not my family, so to speak, but like
Right.
others around.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think yeah, no, some of those chemicals and stuff that they use in those relaxers, I mean, some of that was causing like seeping into the brain and stuff and was causing brain damage as well. So I'm not surprised that you've got scars, from it because some of that stuff is super toxic. Um it's just yeah, no, I would definitely I think that, people should, be allowed to be themselves and shouldn't have to conform to, white or you know, white normative standards and stuff like that, just because they want to fit in or whatever, it's just I wish everybody could just be who they wanted to be and could be and everything, you know, between, gender and color and everything else. And you should just be who you want to be. Um, and and that extends to those people, like you said, to those people who do want to use relaxers and stuff like that. More power to you. If that's what you want to do it. If you're doing it from a place of just your own want and desire. It's like people getting perms and stuff like that. It's just like I guess it looks weird, but I don't care.
Yeah,
My
if it's coming from a place of self-expression, then
Yeah,
by God, by
absolutely.
all means, please do express
Yeah.
yourself any way you like.
I shave my
But
head,
it's
for that, like, because it makes it easy for me. It's my self-expression is like, look, this makes it easy for me to just get up and get out of bed. I don't got to worry about combing my hair or anything.
I
So,
have also like a shave. It's not fully shaved. I have like a just basically what one could consider a long mohawk.
oh, gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, no, I mean that way that works. Um, but yeah, no, and it also makes for a great moment in the movie too, because I mean they discover that a lot of these drugs, this drug that they're being fed is to make them more docile, happy, and compliant. Um,
Hmm.
and what they notice is one that it's being put into the chicken that they're eating, of course. And so they've got this commercial too, is like the spicy hot box or something like that at goddamn chicken.
Yeah.
And um but they go there and everybody's just having like great time. They even start cracking up and laughing. They're like, oh, we've never seen Fontaine laugh. And then that's when Slick Charles realized, oh wait, no, they put this drug in the thing because he had accidentally tried the drug. Well, he purposely
Yeah.
tried the drug, thinking it was Coke, and then realized it wasn't Coke. But they realized that it's being put in other things, including like so in like the most stereotypical of things, like the hair relaxer, and then a grape drink, and so and which plays out into different avenues later on. But the hair relaxer thing was that was made for such a funny scene too, because earlier in the movie, um, I think it was Slick Charles said something about Yo-Yo's hair being a wig, and she's like, "Excuse me," and she's like, "This is natural hair," and and then later on they're putting the relaxer into her hair. The scientists are putting it into her hair to get her to calm down and stop fighting. And then she ends up getting up like after they uh think she's out. She gets up and knocks them out and pulls the wig off. Turns out it was a wig. It's such a
I
great
loved
moment.
that. I
It's such
loved
a
it
great moment.
so much.
Oh,
It's
so
like, oh,
funny.
that's perfect.
Yeah. Oh,
No, it like it's moments like that. Like it's definitely a great movie that definitely balances the funny and the serious
yeah,
really
it's
well.
so funny. It's like it's the like to be able to balance it like they did was insane. And they did such a good job at it that like never once does it come off as like too much of a satire or too much of a drama or anything. It just like it balances it so well that it worked entirely.
Yeah. I personally like found like the scene with so despite the fact that Black History Month and all that, and I'm going to continue giving all the black characters their flowers, but I do got out of my deep, deep love and respect for him for helping me unlock my true gender, I have to give Kiefer Sutherland his props.
Yes, yes,
He,
your lost boy's love.
yes, he understood the assignment
He is a
He
true
can.
ally. He is a true ally. I saw this funny comedian was talking about how the white actors who play the villains and stuff like Leonardo DiCaprio and other things where they like play these heinous white villains and everything, and they're like, he's like, look, these are the true allies because they're playing the most horrible people to show this stuff, and I love that. It was
I
hilarious.
haven't truly forgiven Leonardo DiCaprio for what he did to Kerry Washington.
Okay.
I haven't truly forgiven him for, because like that scene, he's wiping his real blood on her face.
Yeah, yeah, that well, let's yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, let's hope that there was a scene break enough that he did that without wiping his real blood on her.
No,
But if he
no,
did,
it was
then
his it
oh
it was
yeah,
his real blood.
then that's bad then. Yeah, I don't agree with that part of it. The rest of it was great. The fact that he
Yeah.
continued in that scene while having a hand like cutting his hand and bleeding the whole time. Yeah, no, that part was great. But yeah, no, wiping his own blood on her face was like, no, that wasn't cool at all.
Yeah,
So,
that's not like that horrified reaction she had was 100%
oh
genuine.
yeah, yeah.
As I would react the same
No, I
way.
think
And
anybody
also
would react,
the scene would be over because I also would have hit him.
right?
but
Uh,
but she's a professional
exactly. But going back to
and
what
I
you were
am
saying,
not. But
no, but yeah,
like he really like when he showed up, like he's not in the movie for much of it. He's got like
no,
two, three scenes tops.
yeah,
Um but like I appreciated when he first shows up and basically explains the plot to them.
yeah, yeah,
Um and like like that very I am so above it all
yeah,
behavior. Like I am like you can tell that he thinks he's better than them.
yeah,
And like that he and not only that, that he's doing them a favor.
yeah,
And it's just like it's absolutely like but also like the absolute glee when he's uses Fontaine's code word
yeah.
and
Olympia
starts
Black,
commanding him. Yeah,
yeah.
and starts commanding him what to do. Like the absolute glee he exhibited in that scene
Mm.
was just right. Like it was
Oh,
perfect to like really cement him as like, oh, okay, yeah, this is a bad dude.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's
And like it,
pure good. Early Kiefer level
yeah,
of evil.
yeah. And it's just like it's definitely better than like the snarling racist trope, which sometimes is very effective in a movie. But like I do believe like in movies like Get Out and stuff, like having that it's very sinister. I'm a racist, but I have covered it in this sense of decorum, this
Yeah, right.
behavior of being like high class. Um, that like I feel like that sinister behavior is like much more diabolical,
Right.
and like really put like showcases a certain level of like what you do have to expect in real life because like while you may see a fair few of snarling racists who will call you every slur under the sun, um, you're more than likely to get, oh, you speak so well.
Yeah. Like that, just like that really
Mhm.
gross racism where it's just like, no. Like,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, you speak so well. Oh, you dress so nice. Oh, you're very pretty for insert thing here.
Yeah.
And it's just like that kind of racism is very prevalent, very insidious, and sometimes people who are doing it don't realize that it's racist
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
because it's so uh inundated within our society that it's okay to say those things. It's okay to be
Right.
this way. It's okay to have those
It's okay to
prejudices and
think that
behave
way.
that way.
Yeah, exactly. Those like those weird like biases and everything like that that is just like it's gross. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
just like, and it's something that like, I've experienced um my whole life. And
Yeah.
that's why like movies that portray it like that um really really speak to me, and I'm sure not just me, like the community as a whole.
Right.
um
Yeah.
but like when I was a kid, my grandmother did not expect me to experience racism.
Mm.
And when I talked about to her about it when I got older, she said to me, she's like, well, we loved you, we didn't expect anybody else not to. And it's just like, that's such a lovely thought from a woman who was born in the 20s.
Yeah.
um but
Yeah, that
it's not realistic. And
yeah.
she realized that the few times that she had to go to school for me to sort some situations out.
Yeah.
And like that's one of the things, like I acknowledge that there are people who did not have a white grandmother to come and scream in people's face to defend them, um,
Right.
and therefore did not get the benefit of the doubt the way that I did,
Right.
because I had a white person in my corner. Um,
Right. Yeah.
but like it's just like it's so much part of your life that when you see it in movies, like like I just remember somebody like talking when Get Out was very like prominent, because Get Out really started a conversation that we should have been having a long time ago.
Yeah.
um but uh I remember I was moderating some kind of forum, and somebody like was talking about how ridiculous and nonsensical it was, and it's just like, what? And they're like, well, people don't act like that. And it's like,
Oh
people
my
act
gosh.
like that all the time. It's just like, the reason you don't think people act like that is because you act like that and
Yeah.
you think it's normal.
Right.
So like I
Or you turn
appreciated
a
like
blind
Keith.
eye towards it. Yeah.
Mhm. Like so I appreciated Kiefer Sutherland bringing that kind of energy to the film.
Yeah.
um and also his scene like where he finally dies is just funny. Because Yo-Yo and Slick have to uh have to do it in style.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Of course.
Oh, another thing that I want to bring up, another insidious thing, Chester. Chester's inclusion never speaks, but his existence is so insidious because you see him and he's got a nice haircut,
Mm-hmm.
suited up, and he's a butler.
Yep.
He's and not just for Nixon, very poignant name, um,
Yeah.
for Kiefer Sutherland's character,
Right.
um, but for older Fontaine as well.
Yeah.
And it's just like it just proves how much Fontaine has internalized this anti-blackness, that he
Mm-hmm.
even gives into those really old racist stereotypes where it's just like, well, if I'm going to have a black man in front of me, he must be dressed like in a suit and shiny
Right.
shoes and have an acceptable hairstyle, cut short, none of that nappy shit.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's so like, and it's such a little thing, but nonetheless, just like so insidious and so speaking to how far like older Fontaine has like
Well, and he never
fallen.
says anything either. He's quiet the whole time too. He never says a
Yeah,
word.
he's not
So
he's not speak.
yep, he doesn't speak. He's like he just does what he's told. He just dresses nice. He looks good. It's like very much that, you know, that if you're gonna be working for them, this is how you're gonna be. This is how you're gonna act. And so might as well, unless I need you, you just got to blend into the background. So
Mhm.
yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a parallel of, let's say, Samuel L. Jackson's character from Django Unchained,
right,
like where it's just like his job is to keep it funny,
yeah,
and like that's a whole thing. the keep it funny thing. It's just like entertain me or be
Right.
quiet.
Yeah. You're either my court jester or you're nothing. So,
Yeah. I have a whole thing about Samuel Jackson's character from Tango and Cain that I really should write an article about one day.
well,
But
as a very self-professed Sam Jackson fan, I would definitely read that. So,
yeah, well, I have like it's just like I the movie portrays him as like villainous, but I really feel like like one of the things you have to acknowledge, and I understand it's made by Corn Torn Tarantino. Yes, I know. I said Quentin Tarantino weird. I don't care for him. Um, uh, but and I understand like things are coming from his perspective, and he's not exactly the person that I would immediately get all my racial learning from. Um,
right.
but like he is Samuel Jackson's character is so much a victim that he doesn't realize it.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's a very deep and long conversation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That'll have to wait for another
but
time.
like I just like because that's such a well-known character, and then you have Charles, also a well-known character, and these are these two kind of like ideals of like, if you're in service to me, I want you a particular way, like when Paula Dean, like all the
Yes.
racist stuff came out about her and how she wanted black people to be dressed exactly like that,
Yeah.
like Chester is.
Yep.
And it's just like it's this idea, like it's this weird old southern but also old Hollywood idea of how black people are to be presented.
Right.
If you're not a Sambo, you're that.
Right. Well, and I think that's what makes these movies, especially the ones that I'm talking about, what makes these movies really great and unique is that the people behind them, the filmmakers who are doing them, are black, and so they're able to bring, rather than the typical, white person making, black characters movie, where, at least with Quentin Tarantino, I would say that he gets input from Samuel L. Jackson on his character, so he's definitely open to that and understanding, look, I can't be the full thing, and from what I understand, Sam Jackson's not shy about telling Tarantino, hey, that doesn't really work. So, like, at least in that regard, like, sure, I'm glad that happens, but with in regards to these movies specifically, we've got black people who are writing and directing these movies, and you've got everybody on screen is mostly black, so you've got this, at least this perspective from these movies specifically, and that's why I wanted to cover them, where they're very much talking about that black experience from somebody who's experienced it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the most important in terms of these movies and talking about these movies. So, and that's why I specifically sought out black folk to be my guests on this series, because you know I'm a white dude. What does it matter what I think about these movies? Sure, I like them, but I want to talk to people who also find and identify, like, you like them and identify with them from their own perspectives as well, coming from those communities, and that means a lot more to me in terms of the conversation than trying to talk to somebody else who's white. So it
Yeah.
just it,
And
it
also
would.
I think
Yeah.
oh,
No, go ahead.
but I also think that like having a black person talk about like these things will helps demystify a little
Yeah.
bit of it, because there's things that are personal to our own experiences that like you would not know as a white person,
Exactly.
like so like there's little things like that could occur in a movie, like there's just, as the community, there's few like a few things that like we know what we're talking about, but like
Right.
other people don't know what we're talking about, and for the most part we try to keep them close to the chest, because
Yeah.
a lot of the time they can be very well, they can be used against us, or they can be um
Misconstrued. Yeah.
misconstrued, or my personal favorite, stolen.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a stolen. It's a big,
Oh
big
yeah.
one.
No, the white people have stolen a lot from black people for sure. So I mean, it's definitely not uncommon of a practice. So
But like my husband is my spouse is a white. Um, so like there's a lot of stuff that like I have to explain to him that he doesn't get.
right.
Like right now, like I really love Glorilla, and I don't know who doesn't. Um, in her song TGIF, like she has a lyric that she says 40 inches 613. Now, you don't know what that
I have
means.
no idea. Yeah.
My husband doesn't know what that means. But within my community, we know that means that her wig is 40 inches long and it's in the color 613, which is blonde.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I
Definitely
mean, I'm sure
would
there's
not
white
have
people
known.
who work in hair shops know the colors and whatnot, but that's like a common thing. Like we would, that's like just a common knowledge in a community that we would know because we use a lot of like braiding hair, things like that. We know the packages, we know the lengths we want, we know what we're talking about, but it wouldn't be common knowledge to someone outside of said community.
Right.
Very innocuous things that like you just you know come from being within a group.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure it's the same for any ethnicity or racial group that or like anybody from any country. Like I'm sure there's like things that while Australians are white, not native Australians, but the colonized portion of Australia, I'm sure there's internal things like jokes that they have that I would never understand just because my culture is not the same exactly as theirs.
Right.
Like why they like Vegemite.
We'll
um,
never know.
we'll never know. But it's just like I think it helps to like have these discussions,
No, definitely.
and like and put like that information out there, and also just like be able to say yes. While it may be satirized a bit, maybe played some things may be played up for dramatic effect. Um, these are our experiences. We do go through this. We see this every day of our lives, and like it's like I want you to understand it, so like if it's something that you do or something that you see, you can either call it out within yourself or call it out when you see it.
Right.
um Also, like I've just been personally, I just want more black led sci-fi, black led horror, black
Oh
led
yeah.
everything.
Absolutely. No, and
Just
that's what was great about like doing these is all of these are modern movies that, it's great to see more black led, black created movies in multiple genres happening right now. And like, it's great to see that happening more now, especially, because we've got so many streaming platforms and, just availability for movies to be made. So like, why aren't more of these being done? So, and it's great to see that they are starting to get more done. So, let's keep up with that, you know. And that's why I
yeah,
really
because like
wanted to do that for this Black History Month was just to highlight, look, this stuff's being done. If you're not watching these, you should be. So
mhm, exactly. Like another black sci-fi film that I loved was Nope.
yes,
Sci-fi
yeah.
horror, but just a great film. But you know me and Jordan Peele, my endless love affair. um, but it's just I loved this movie. Like I went into it and I was just like, everybody tells me it's good, but like I'll never know until I actually watch it because I have been told many times that things are good, and then I come
Yeah.
out of the experience. It's like everybody who told me that was good is getting water thrown in their face.
Yeah, I felt the same way before. Yeah, this one definitely, like I said, when this trailer hit and I saw it, I was like, oh my God, I this movie's right up my alley, and it 100% was. I've loved it ever since, and rewatching it, I rewatched it today.
Me too.
Before, well, I'll admit I had forgotten. Normally, I try to watch it at least the night before, I had forgotten, and I was like, oh, I need to really watch this movie now because I hadn't seen it since it had come out. And so I quickly rewatched it and was like, okay, good, I got that done.
Yeah, don't worry.
So
I do it every time I'm on here because like it's just like the first time I was on here, it's just like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to talk about Evil Dead. Have I ever even seen Evil Dead? What even is horror? What are movies?
right, right. Well, you did well, so that's all that matters.
Um, but generally, just like the movie was a soothing balm to my soul because I watched Blink twice. And I'm not
Oh,
going to say Blink Twice was a bad movie. It was just a movie that I wholly did not enjoy because of just getting a lot of stuff sprung on me that I was not prepared for and
yeah,
do not like to be surprised about.
yeah, yeah. That
So it was a
I like the
soothing
movie, but it's
balm to
definitely
my
rough
heart.
at times. Yeah, yeah.
It was definitely a soothing balm to my heart because it's
Mm.
just like, yeah, it's just like, uh, I know this movie doesn't have any of all that in it. Blink Twice
Yeah,
is far less traumatic.
yeah, yeah. A little bit. Yeah.
I just,
No, yeah. Go
I
ahead.
just, I need more movies like this. And sorry to bother you. Like,
Yes,
I
I need to
appreciate
really
how,
watch that one.
yeah, I really appreciate how black satire has evolved to
Yes.
this. Um, and it's one of those things where it's just like there's a lot of nuance in there that I appreciate. Without it, like I said, getting pandery because
Right.
I'm not going to name a name because I don't want to put anybody on blast, but there is a podcast that covered Tales from the Hood, and they really like Tales from the Hood, and rightfully so. It's a fantastic film. Um, but then, but then they covered like the subsequent sequels, which of course are not as good.
Right.
Um, but like one of their complaints was that it didn't address intraracial tensions the way that Tales from the Hood did. And my feeling was, hi, white podcast person. Um, that's not really your place to talk about. Like, you don't get to say about when we discuss our racial politics within our own community and how we choose to express our frustration at white supremacy. You don't get to put that out, and it's just like we are not to pander to you. And I
Yeah.
like with this person, I have noticed that that's been a consistent theme with them. Um, if it doesn't have like the interracial nuance, then they kind of don't care for the film. And it's just like
That's weird.
sometimes, yeah, and it's just one of those things where it's just like, I need you to like understand, like from our perspective, who the bad guy is all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's just like and it's not necessarily a single individual, it's a system that we have to live under. You live under it too, but the
It's the
difference is
man. I mean, it's been the
yeah,
man since like forever. I mean, it's the nebulous man. It's the
yeah,
patriarchy. It's the white supremacy. It's everything that goes into this. We all live under it. Some of us have privilege under it to a modicum, whereas others don't. But like again, yeah, that's not yeah, that's definitely not on filmmakers to assuage your white guilt to
yeah.
talk about
And it's
those
just
things.
yeah. And it's one of those things where it was just like I'm trying to think of a way to phrase this. Ah.
That it almost feels like it comes off a little it comes off as that weird what you were talking about before is that weird um racism that's it's not that outward racism, but that's like that weirdly internalized racism that they don't realize they have.
Hmm.
That um that speaks to more about them than anything else. Which is
Yeah,
not, which is unfortunate because I'm sure it's not coming from a place of hatred. It's just that weird racism that's been ingrained into them from you a certain point of view, and
yeah.
yeah.
Like nobody wants to look at something and see themselves as the bad guy.
Right.
But it's just
I'm
like
perfectly fine with
and
seeing
I
all
get
white people as bad guy. It's okay. I understand.
like it's one of those things where it's just like I understand that you might take it a little personally. And it's okay to have that feeling. Sit with it.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
sit with it. If it makes you
Understand.
feel bad,
Yeah.
understand why it makes you feel bad.
Right. Exactly.
And it's just like and like don't come at it from a place of anger. Like come at
Come
it
at it
from a
from
place of
understanding. Yeah. And
yeah,
sympathy and
because it's
like, yeah.
because again, we all
Or
suffer
empathy.
under the system. But
God, we,
unfortunately, the small ways that you benefit from the system are
yeah.
enough to make you overlook all the ways that you don't.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And and that's like how it's just like on a larger scale. Like it's basically what they clone Tyrone is trying to the point they're
Yeah.
trying to make but in a bigger scale, like they are just talking about this in terms of this one community, but like in terms of like real life it is so much larger. It is globe encompassing
Mm-hmm.
larger.
Yep.
And it's just I think that sitting
The
there
end
and being
goal
able
is
to sit with
gentrification of the world. I mean, that's
mhm,
that's their end goal. So,
mhm. Yeah, and it's just like listen, it goes back to the melting pot theory, and it's just
mm,
like and I had a teacher who put it the best way. We shouldn't want a melting pot. We should want a salad
yes.
where
Yeah.
everybody retains their own individuality while still working harmoniously together.
Yes. Absolutely. I mean, the
Um,
melting pot theory can work. It's like a good stew, where all the parts work together to make a harmonious whole. It's just people misunderstand what the melting pot means, that we all need to melt together to make a homogeneous, like, gruel rather than, you know, rather than a stew. And that's where it comes down to the stew, the salad. Those are great analogies in terms of that, because like each piece is something unique and different on its own, and while good on its own, it's better together. And
yeah,
so,
exactly.
yeah, go ahead, sorry.
No, no, but it's just like so. It's just like if we like Tyrone and Isaac have this very, very large problem with each other that stems from both of them being each other's competition.
Right.
They have a hatred so severe that they are willing to kill each other over it. But when it comes down to it, when it comes down to the line, and it's just like when they look at the bigger picture of their community, the little world that that encapsulates them, they realize
They're better
what we
together.
are yeah, it's better for us to work together to make our community whole than to continue this fight that in the end is not benefiting either of us.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
and it's
It's
just like
society in a microcosm. It's really
it
what it is.
it is. And I think that is one of the reasons that it makes it such a good movie is
Oh
like it's
yeah.
got all those moving parts to it that make it all work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Like
got a
everything works
message,
so
it's
well.
funny, it's exciting. There's so much going on into this movie that you again, this is what I've said. This is like the perfect analogy as a whole. This movie should not work for all the different tones and everything else that it has going for it, and all the different genres that it's mashing up, but somehow it works perfectly, and it's a metaphor for the story that the movie's trying to tell as well, is that we shouldn't all be trying to assimilate. We shouldn't be trying to mix all together. We need to have these differing parts of each other so that we can all, like, find that commonality with each other, work together to make things better for each other, not just for ourselves, but for each other. We should be able lifting everybody up not just lifting ourselves up on the backs of other people. That should never
Yeah,
be
it's
the choice of this. We're getting real preachy on this episode.
oh, you know what?
Hey, I'm fine
It
with it. I'm fine
the
with it.
the subject matter calls for it.
Absolutely.
Um, in situations like this, sometimes you need to get like I told you when I messaged you before this, I'm like, you're getting the rawest version of me that you ever had. Um,
Bring it.
uh, but like at the very end, like when it's all the news, and all the clones are like up, and it's just like, and they're showing like how they're sharing food, they're giving
Yeah.
them the clothes off their backs,
Yes.
that they're
Yes.
they're they're taking care of them. And it's just like, that's what community is. Like these people asked no questions, where did these, like they're asking like where did they come from, but like that doesn't stop them from helping them. They
Right.
immediately spring into action and try to make the situation better for these people who look very lost, are lacking clothes,
Can't
like
talk,
just,
don't understand
yeah,
what's going on. Yeah.
like there's so much that they're trying to do. um
Absolutely.
and it's just like it's a good thing, because like that is what community is about, like being there for each other, and like giving, um helping each other, because you see it a lot like within internal communities, like my friend Creighton runs Vox Noir, which is a group that like she sends out groceries to people in need. She crowdfunds for like contraception and helping people get a place to stay. Like it's community work.
Right.
It's to help within our own community. Like I have had times where I struggled financially when I was in the hospital and I was not getting paid, and I had friends come together to help me pay some bills.
Right.
Sorry. And it's just like, that's like at the end, it's just like all we have is each other.
Right. No, and I mean, you see it more and more these days too. You see people online always posting, hey, I'm struggling, I can't meet my bills. They like I got sick and I couldn't work and I've been out a couple of days and that caused massive problems. And you see the community online even step up quite often to help people out. Even if they can't, spare a few dollars because, money's tight for everybody, that at least sharing it and spreading it around to people who might have a few extra dollars, that kind of stuff helps the most. And like I love seeing that happen more and more, within that, um, within the online space too. Yes, there's going to be people who are going to take advantage of that. There's always people who take
Mhm.
advantage of that. But as soon as you know that somebody's doing that, call it out, point it out, get that person stopped. So it's just there's more people who are actually being genuine than not genuine because there are people are struggling right now. They have been for a long time, and you know, if we can help each other,
Yeah,
build each other up and bring each other up, that's what's important. That's the community. So that
yeah.
we should all be
And
striving
like,
towards.
yeah, and I said, like with like you had said earlier, not to get too political, but I think that's it's a very important message to put out right now in the face
Absolutely.
of all the trials and tribulations that we will have coming towards us.
Right.
Um, at base, especially people who are in underprivileged groups, people
Hmm.
of color, trans people, queer people, disabled people. All we have is each other.
Right.
Like at
And
this
ultimately,
point,
that's what this movie
it's
is
important to
about,
be a good
too.
neighbor.
Yeah.
The point is to be a good neighbor
Yeah.
to the best of your ability, even if you can't do much. Support is the most important thing,
Absolutely.
and like that is one of the things, like this movie is such a like this movie is ultimately about community.
Yep. Exactly. All right. Well, we will go ahead and leave it right there. Why don't you let people know where they can find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Miss MYS Onika, and you can find me on Blue Sky. I forget what my username is on there because I haven't been there for a little bit. But I follow Robert. You can find me through his page.
Let's see. It is Miss Onika J on there as well.
Oh,
So MYSONIKAJ. So
thank
you are
you.
the same there. So yeah. So all right. Well, I appreciate you coming on again. It's always a great time talking to you. We always have great conversations. So I look forward to getting you on again soon.
Well, always a pleasure and always happy to come on.
Well, I appreciate that. All right. Well, until next time, we will see you then.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Creepy and Geeky is produced and hosted by Robert Clark. If you like what you've heard, please consider giving the show 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And share the podcast on social media to help spread the word. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. You can follow the podcast by going to creepyandgeeky.com and clicking on any of the social links. If you'd like to follow me, you can find my links at geekthulu.com. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more on TeePublic or by donating to the coffee page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.